Welcome to Resilient Minds 365, where we discuss the resilient stories of entrepreneurs, professionals, and students with mental health challenges to encourage you to strive, thrive, and live in abundance. I'm your host, Cleoni Crawford. So today we have a special guest, and his name is, how would you introduce yourself? What is your name?
I'm Taylor James.
And Taylor, where are you from?
I'm from a city in the UK called Coventry.
Wow.
Yeah,
So
I'm a long way away.
You're a long way away. So what time is it where you are right now?
So it's 5:30
Okay.
in the evening.
Wow. Okay. Right now we're at 12:30. So you're 5 hours ahead of us. So awesome.
In the future.
Awesome. Cool. So today, the first thing we're going to, rather than reading your bio, I'm just going to get you to tell us what is it that you do, who are you, and yeah.
We'll go from there.
Yes.
Like I said, my name's Taylor James. I'm a fellow podcaster from the UK. But my main profession, for my actual day job, is IT management. So I manage a small team, and we do a lot of kind of fulfillment requests for a lot of larger companies. And yeah, that's the day job. But then my hobby is obviously the podcast. It's called the Waffle Shop, where we, like yourself, we have a chat about different mental challenges. And it's something that kind of really started following my own mental journey.
Yes.
So I've been diagnosed with anxiety and a rolling form of PTSD after I nearly lost my mum to an operation gone wrong.
Wow.
So yeah, it's been a bit of a journey. It's something that was kind of overnight. It was, okay, your mum might not make it. Here's a house. I had become a father figure to my younger sister at the time. And then, so then it was kind of very overwhelming, a lot of life traumatic changes in such a short period of time that then pushed a lot of these obviously mental challenges onto myself. And it's something that I'd never experienced before. So I'm very grateful for opportunities like this to kind of have a talk about them, and then kind of meet other people who are facing mental challenges as well, because it makes me feel more human and that I'm not on my own in this kind of crazy times that we're living in.
Yeah, totally. So tell me, when did this happen? How long ago did this happen? How many years ago?
So this happened in May 2017, and although it kind of seems a long way away, since obviously everything that has changed in that obviously short period of time, but obviously for anyone who struggles with PTSD, it can also be a very short period of time, because there's certain things, and even down to music sometimes takes me back to that day when everything happened. And so yeah, it's a short period of time, but it's been an incredibly tough period of time.
I totally understand it. Like myself, I suffer with bipolar disorder, and I was diagnosed in 2006. But around 2012 to 2015, it was like jam-packed, so much episodes, like back to back to back.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? So I can understand where you can have like literally a period of time where it's just a few years where things just go haywire.
Yeah, and it's literally, these are the things that no one prepares you for.
Right.
These are literally just thrown right in at the deep end, just like, oh, okay. And then as soon as you think, oh, okay, have a bit of a breather, this is okay, it's like, bam, here you go, try this now. So it's like, oh, great.
Right. So your mental health diagnosis, as you mentioned, was PTSD and anxiety.
Yep.
The anxiety part, tell me a little bit more about that. When did you discover that you suffered from anxiety?
So when it first started to happen, because I was aware of kind of like mental illness and stuff like that, but I'd never experienced it. So I was one of those people who were like, oh, do you know, it's all in the head, it's this, that, and the other. Until I started realizing it didn't happen straight away. It was about a good 3-4 months after everything had happened.
Mm-hmm.
And I was getting kind of like stomach pain. I was getting like kind of like very a lot of discomfort. Um, and it's just a lot of other little things, like I was getting out of breath very easily. I was like overthinking. It was like kind of like a shortness of breath. So I kind of ignored it because I thought, well, do you know what? I haven't been to the gym for a while. It's probably because of, all this is going on. It's a lot to handle. But what I wasn't expecting is when I first kind of spoke about it, because even now, like when my phone rings and I don't recognize the number, or it's the home where my mom currently lives,
Mm-hmm.
I go really bad. Like I get shortness of breath. I get kind of like very dry mouth. I start pacing, up and down wherever. And it's tough. It's the one way I can describe it for myself, and this, there's very, very different forms of anxiety. But when you stand on a plug or you stub your toe or something like that, it's kind
Mm-hmm.
of that sharp kind of, it's happening,
Yes.
it's hurting, but then it's kind of, you're kind of angry at yourself that you've just done this. And so that's how I kind of look at it.
Oh,
But obviously
interesting.
it's very different for other people. But yeah,
Yeah.
that's how I kind of describe it is, yeah, when you stub your toe or stand on Lego, it's kind of like, ow. But there's a lot of techniques out there that kind of can get you through it, which I didn't realize as well until I was kind of educating myself around anxiety and the whole kind of emotion.
Mm-hmm. Wow, interesting, interesting. So let's talk about, I mean, this just happened 2017. This has been crazy. So um you've lived, I guess, how many years? How old are you now?
So I turned 30 in lockdown. So it happened when I was 27.
Okay.
And yeah, now, yeah, 30.
Wow. So the last 3 years have been kind of crazy. So would you say right now that you are a bit more stable? What is your mental health like right now?
um it's took a bit of a battering, but one thing that I'm a little bit grateful for, I'm a big believer in, the negatives to positives. There's, as much as this is a huge negative situation that we're in, and it's still ongoing. We get told like my mom is going to die like 3 times a year. She caught coronavirus, and it was like, there is no way that she's pulling herself out of this. But she's a very strong, resilient woman. And it's
Hmm.
something, and I take a lot of my kind of strength and resilience from my mom, because it's like, well, if she can go through this real life changing experience, and the possibility of not ever being able to walk again, we don't think she'll ever actually return home, then yeah, if I'm having a bad day, I can get up, and it makes me more grateful that I'm still able to do my day-to-day things.
Hmm.
But that sounds very positive, but it's still it still hurts a lot some
Yeah,
days.
definitely.
um but yeah, like when we went into lockdown and stuff, I think because me and my sister were very used to this kind of isolated way of living. If we were poorly beforehand, before all this happened, we weren't able to go and see my mom because she's a very vulnerable woman. So we were kind of used to not being able to see parents, family. So we've kind of blossomed a little bit in lockdown, because it's given us a lot of time to process what has happened. So it's
Hmm.
been a bit of a blessing in disguise. um but yeah, I still have really good days, but then I also have a lot of bad days. But it's kind of remembering the good days, and they help a hell of a lot with the bad days.
Right, definitely, definitely. So, what would you say? Can you list some of the resources, or what did you have to do to bounce back or to overcome those challenges that you had? What
the
helped?
The biggest one for me, and this is quite an emotional one. In January of this year, I was exhausted. I had literally had nothing left to kind of give. Mom was just come out of hospital again, not knowing if she was going to make it. And I was just like, I just didn't want to continue living my life the way I was. And it kind of, I'm a very kind of sociable, kind of comedic person. I would always try and find the joke in anything. And it just, and none of that was happening. And it got to a stage where I just wasn't feeling myself. There was like certain thoughts kind of thrown around in my head. And I reached out to my friends and to my little sister and just said, like, something's going on. Like, I just don't want to be here.
Mm-hmm.
And I think being at that lowest point and being at rock bottom made me realize, well, actually, you know, you've got a lot to be grateful for, and you've got a lot of incredible people
You're still
around you. Yeah. And, I think the biggest thing that I can ever recommend to anyone is that opening up and kind of asking for help. There's no shame in it whatsoever. But talking is the biggest one.
yeah.
Even just, I say this all the time, and it's so kind of hard hitting, but it's something that my friend said to me when I was going through that kind of patch. Was I would rather be reading your text messages and like your messages than reading something at your funeral. And it was literally like, oh, okay, yeah, do you know what? I've got a lot more to give. It was kind of like finding my self-worth a little bit. Like, I'd given so much to everyone else for such a short period of time, but it felt like a lifetime. That it was kind of like, well, do you know what? Actually, you've earned your stripes a little bit. Now it's time to start investing all this time into yourself. So I think my biggest advice would be just to look after number one, because
Yeah.
it's not selfish. It's not like it may seem selfish, especially for someone who is so used to doing so much for other people, but taking that time out just learning how to say no sometimes, unless it's work. Like, obviously you have to go to work, but that, or go or school or anything, that's, you can't say no to stuff like that. But
Right.
if you're not feeling it, if you're not feeling that night out with your friends, or anything like that, like if it's not right for you and you're not feeling it, then look after yourself.
Well, self-care is so important because, I mean, if you don't take care of yourself, if there's no self, then there's no one, it's impossible for you to take care of anyone else.
Exactly. I mean, and it's something that was probably the biggest lesson throughout all of this, and even throughout the kind of lockdown, is the allowing yourself time to process, allowing yourself time to like heal and find out like what kind of really makes you happy is
Mm-hmm.
so important, because those minor little changes can really change your your whole outlook and your mindset, and
Right.
it's something that can actually change your life.
Mm-hmm. Wow. Wow. That's amazing. So did you ever think of actually going to like support groups when you were going just to connect with other people that were also living with anxiety or PTSD?
So I got incredibly lucky when I first reached out. I got a therapist who I dealt with before when I was going through all the stuff with my mom and the various kind of hospitals and stuff we were at. So I was having therapy sessions and I was learning about, why I was behaving a certain way, why my body was behaving a certain way with these kind of, these challenges. But then all that stopped because of COVID.
Mm-hmm.
So when it was like, well, okay, I can't go backwards, I don't want to start feeling like that again. So that's when I started my podcast as a way of, it was kind of like a free therapy session, if I'm being honest. Because it was like, well, I need to keep talking, I need to keep opening up. And then by doing that, kind of it allowed me to cross paths with some incredible people facing the road. I mean, even now, like I'm sat talking to yourself,
Mm-hmm.
and it's stuff like this that makes me so grateful. And so like that I did have to go through those challenges times, but I've sometimes think that I was supposed to go through that because I wouldn't been able to educate myself and learn and, you know, meet some incredible people facing their own challenges. And it's kind of turned into a bit of a community
Mhm.
just by listening. So
Right.
that's what I've had. And obviously, hopefully once this whole lockdown situation's like over, and you know, I would like to meet some of those people like face to face, and just like really, because I've genuinely made friends, and I never thought I'd be, not that I didn't have friends before, but like I meant, like I've genuinely made friends just by talking about our different mental challenges.
Yes.
And it's a nice feeling, but obviously no one wants to see anyone struggle. But knowing that we're all in this kind of together, no matter, there's no judgment, there's nothing kind of, oh well, my condition's worse than yours, you know, there's none of that. And it's a real nice little community going on.
Cool. 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 So, what was my next question? So, what are three things that you wish you had available to you when you were at your lowest point?
Oh,
I
this
know.
question, when I think it gives me goosebumps, because at that time, because at home it was always just me, my mum and my sister,
Mhm.
so my dad wasn't really around, and so my mum was my only support network. And when that's taken away from you and you're kind of left with this kind of overwhelming feeling of, oh, the only person I want to speak to
It's your
is my
mom.
mom, and it's the only person at this moment in time who isn't here. So
Mm.
when I was going through it all, I think the top of the list would be just my mom to say, this is going to be tough. This is going to be like a rough ride, but you know, better days are coming.
Yes.
So that, I think that was number one. Um, Number two, I think, was the understanding and the impact things like trauma and anxiety can have, because you know they throw these words at you as if, you know, you're in like some medical, you know, drama on TV, like as if you're expected to know what's going on.
Right.
But I think if I had a better understanding of, you know, mental health and stuff like that beforehand, I think I would have managed what was happening at that time like a lot better.
Mm-hmm.
Number three, probably a holiday is the third thing I'd probably wish I had.
Oh yeah. Oh yeah. Definitely.
I thought I was going to go somewhere like from the heart or something. I was like, no, a holiday.
Yes. Yes. So, if you were to get a holiday, where would you see yourself going?
uh,
Where?
I would go back to Bali. Like, it is my
Oh,
favorite place in the world. Like, they have a lazy river there, and it's my happy place.
wicked.
I love it.
Awesome. Bali sounds like very exotic. Totally
Oh, it's
exotic.
incredible. It's I literally, and everyone needs to go at some point. It's beautiful.
Wow. Wow. Okay. So, my next question is, so what words of hope can you give to our listeners? What should they know about anxiety, PTSD, going through loss, and what can you tell our listeners today?
I think my biggest bit of advice is that it doesn't have to define you.
Yes.
Like, it does not have to, like, yes, you go through, you know, these real tough like life challenges. Yes, you may have anxiety, you know, you bipolar, you know, whatever this, you know, the challenge may be, you don't have to allow it to define you. You know, there's a lot of pressure at the minute outside with the world at the minute, and I feel like we're so kind of in this frame of mind where we're putting so much more pressure on ourselves because, oh, I can't do this because I've got anxiety, I can't. And honestly, sometimes taking that first step out of those kind of comfort zones can be the biggest life changing steps. So I
Wow.
think that's what I would say, like, just don't let it define you,
Hmm.
because there is so much to be grateful for. There's so many different coping mechanisms out there, and you know, there's a lot of support out there now. You know, people are listening for the first time in a very long time.
That's true.
So it's just, you know, don't be defined by it. Do what makes you happy. And, you know, you're here for a short time, not a long time. You know, my mom is prime example of that. You know, her whole life changed in the matter of, you know, minutes practically. But there's a big wide world out there, and there's a lot of good out there.
Yes. Wow, amazing. So we're going to switch it up a little. As you can see behind me, there is a book there that says The Music of My Life. So I wrote a book, and it's about my journey with mental health and bipolar, and how music therapy was also a very big part of it. So with that said, I want to know, what type of music do you like?
You know what? I'm so excited that you brought this, because this is one of the things that I do on my podcast as well. It's like I reach out and I speak to some of my favorite artists about like the song, like what was behind the songs, like the feelings and stuff. So I love this. Music therapy is so important, and it can take you to so many incredible places. So
Yes.
I love this. My music taste is horrendous.
Okay, I'm gonna brace myself.
Yeah.
I'm gonna brace myself.
So I'm a 90s kid through and through.
Okay.
So any of that kind of cheesy pop era, like I'm a huge fan of. I'm here for it. My playlist will go from anything from like the Red Hot Chili Peppers to Pitbull to Adele to, Coldplay. It literally, depending on my mood, it
Yes.
will go anywhere.
So you're eclectic.
Yeah, very, to put it politely.
Okay, so we are going to ask you, since you like music a lot, so I'm pretty sure if 1 to 2 songs, if you were to describe a song or 2 songs that describe your, pretty much your journey, what would it be and why?
Oh, that is tough. Okay, so I love this. So it's not a very famous song at all. But there's a song by Emily Sandé, and it's called "Breaking the Law." I mean, I've never broke the law. I'm just going to throw that.
Okay,
I've never broke the law. But it's about like doing something. The song was written by Emily Sandé for her little sister, and she was saying like, if I was in that situation, I would never stop breaking the law for you. And I think it was just like a real, you do what you can for your loved ones kind of moment. And it's stuck with me because I've been to see Emily Sandé with my mom, so there's a bit of kind of backstory with it anyway. But that's one song, like, it's, when I hear it, it's a bit of a hug when I hear it. But it always makes me cry.
Makes you cry. Aww.
It's like good tears, because it's like a comfort blanket.
Okay.
So yeah, Breaking the Law by Emily Sandé, and then I think the other one is Chasing Pavements by Adele. Like, I'm a huge fan of like a big, I mean, I was raised by women, so I'm a huge fan of like a big female vocal. But yeah, Chasing Pavements by Adele, because I think that there's a line in the song, it's like, should I give up or should I keep chasing pavements? And it's just, it's that kind of message of just like, keep going. You don't know where it's going to lead you. Chase those pavements, just keep going.
Amazing.
Oh God, there's so many.
I know. Why, you have another one? Is that what you want to add another?
It's only because it's just clicked into my head, and it's Run This Town, Jay-Z, Rihanna and Kanye.
Okay.
And I think it's the bit that Rihanna says, it's like, life's a game, but it's not fair. I break the rules, so I don't care. Sometimes I'm walking tall against the rain. And it's just like that kind of, again, that, like whether you're in the gym or you're having like a bad day, or if you're on a walk or something, it's that kind of like, yeah, it is unfair, but we're still here, we're still going, keep going. So I love songs like that. I love those kind of, they're the songs like I listen to first thing in the morning. Yeah, that's the word I was looking for there.
Yes. Amazing. Well, my friend, so how can people find you if they want to? Actually, before we do that, tell me a little bit more of your talk show. Can we just briefly the type of guests that you bring on, and what do
I just want to
like
say as well, like, it's stuff like this. Like, I mean, it sounds so cheesy, and I feel very cringy when I say it, but the kind of podcast and stuff, like, it came around at the right time because it has genuinely turned my life around. It's given me a bit of a purpose. It's like, it's given me a platform to talk to people like yourself. It's, it's I don't know. It's sort of turned into a real passion of mine. But yeah, like what you've just said, it was music is my biggest coping mechanism. So it was an opportunity to me to kind of learn about my mental health, learn about coping mechanisms. I feel like when people have a hard time, it's always like, oh, have you tried yoga? Have you tried this? It's like, I can't do yoga. I don't have the body shape for yoga. Do you know what I mean? So no, so it's like, I'm not going to sit there. I can't do things like this. So it was like, well, it was an opportunity for me to kind of learn. And again, yeah, music was my biggest coping mechanism. So it was a few of my favorite artists. I mean, I've had people like Kool and the Gang on the show. I've had people like, I'm not too sure if because a lot of them is like UK based, but Shinge from the Noisettes. There's quite a lot of UK bands. Like, you may have heard of their songs, but you might not have heard them. But yeah, you've definitely heard. Everyone's heard of Kool and the Gang.
Of course.
So yeah, they've been on the show. Yeah, and it's called the Waffle Shop. So there's no food involved, unfortunately, but it's just all about getting people waffling about their mental health, their life's challenges, minor inconveniences. So it's a bit of a play on words, but the message is behind it is open up, talk, have a waffle. So yeah, that's how you can find me. So if you want to, obviously check it out if you want to. But yeah, it's just the Waffle Shop Podcast on Apple, Spotify, wherever you listen to your podcasts.
Amazing. So where else can we find you? Are you on Instagram, Facebook, Twitter? What's your...
Yes. Oh God, I always forget what I was actually. I think it's at Waffle Shop Podcast.
Okay.
Or at Taylor990, whichever. Like, just come and say hello. And obviously, I'm no way, shape or form like a mental health professional, but I've got the life experience, and I know what it's like to feel like you're on your own when you're feeling this kind of stuff. So if you're ever feeling like that, I would love it if you reached out and we could just have a chat about it. No matter what walk of life you're from, just give me a shout.
Okay, amazing. So with that said, first of all, I want to thank you very much, Taylor, for sharing your story with us. I hope you guys were inspired by this story. And so to all you resilient minds out there, until next time, please subscribe to us on all our platforms. And don't forget to rate the show and leave a review for us on Apple Podcasts. If you really enjoyed this, please rate the show and leave a review, please. Also, join the community of resilient minds and sign up for our monthly newsletter at www.cleonicrawford.com. Be sure to grab a copy of my book, The Music of My Life, and also 30+1 Resilient Stories on Amazon to get to know me a little bit better. If you can think of one person that will receive value from today's show or connect with Taylor's testimonial, please share it with them. They got to hear this testimony. And feel free to take a screenshot of today's episode of the podcast and tag us on Instagram. You can tag myself at Only Cleoni or Resilient Minds 365 or our guest, Taylor, at the Waffle
Shop. The Waffle Shop.
The Waffle Shop. And remember, mental health is not a death sentence. Despite your illness, you can strive, you can thrive, and you can live a life of abundance. So until next time, I'm Cleoni Crawford, and I am signing off. Take care.